Multi-factor authentication, MFA, the abbreviation for it. Sometimes also as 2FA, and because sometimes two factors is enough to fulfill a certain requirement. But yeah, what is it more than just username and password? Okay, that sounds very simple. But let's say usually in the industry it's described as mix of something you know, something you have, and something you are. Uh, um, what does it actually mean? I mean, what are these kind of factors of authentication? So, starting with something you are, it's usually all the biometric stuff like fingerprint, iris scan, and something you have. Well, you have that finger with that fingerprint, but here's meant a physical object like a token. That maybe generates a number or something like that. So therefore, you have an item. So if you own that item, you have that layer of authentication. And something you know, obviously, that's something that you can protect best if you keep it really in your head instead of writing it on paper and putting it somewhere, because then it becomes again something you have. Where someone has that paper, then you lost one level of authentication here. But again, if you just know it, so it stays in your brain, your password, PIN number, something like that, passphrase, and that is good enough. It makes sense to mix it. Yes, very obvious, because if you lost the item that you have, you still have something that you know. So the risk is 50-50. Anyway, it's not really 50-50, because without the second item, no one can authenticate. So therefore, and that's why sometimes it's better to have all three means of authentication, um, which is good because let's say it happens probably in a daily life. It doesn't have to be even very IT specific. So let's say you're using your phone, and that is something you have where you have to key in a password, passcode, PIN. That's something you know, yeah. Or you have to use your fingerprint that already combines it with something you are, and then you still have to key in a PIN, and there you go. You have already multi-level, because it's actually like three, or worst case like 2.5 factors of authentication. Um, this can prevent over 99.9% of account compromise attacks. Well, it's a very sharp number. Anyway, research from the internet. But simply speaking, yes, because username and password, it can leak. Yeah? And here, if you have multi-factor, not just two, yeah, it's very hard to bring this puzzle piece together. Sure, tokens also generate numbers, so you don't literally have to steal the token. As long as you get the token logic, uh, you have it also. But if you're using like two different phones and splitting all this stuff, that push notification goes to the other phone, and this is the phone where the app is installed. Here the biometric works on this, so you have used one finger there, the other finger there. That's a good segregation and a risk split. So my recommendations anyway, for again, not talking IT systems and landscapes yet, when we're talking about daily use for a normal person, have at least two phones. They're not expensive nowadays. Even you can have SIM cards that are, I mean, that is anyway not part of this discussion here. But let's say run two phones with two different numbers, authenticate differently with different usernames and passwords, and use different fingers from biometric. One maybe face control, the other is the finger, and then when you have your banking stuff, just split it properly so that you need even both phones to run this whole thing. That is the at least most secure way to do it. Of course, don't fall for phishing, because then it doesn't really matter, because sometimes again, you're not 100% safe, because even when you think you're multi-authenticating and it's just you, no one stole your phone, someone could reroute your session or wherever you just authenticated, and in that very moment when you're authenticating, they're using your credentials, because they're taking them away from your authentication at the moment, and using it separately and running a different transaction. You get an error message and wondering why it doesn't work. Maybe I just have to try again. But someone just harvested your credentials for that very moment in that 30 seconds where the pins and everything is still valid. They could just run something and another transaction that you don't know of because you're still busy trying to relog in and doing it again. Um, so adaptive MFA is something that I just mentioned with the device related connection. So if you're using your desktop or using your mobile phone, it may adapt which multi-factor combination of what. Yeah, as I say, on your phone you have the face control, and maybe on your laptop you don't have even any biometric factors, but so it asks for a passphrase. So the application would know and say, this kind of device, I shouldn't ask for face recognition, even though nowadays every laptop has a camera, every phone has a camera, but fingerprint maybe not so much. Yeah. And yeah, so why? Because without good authentication, all encryption is for nothing. So all the things to protect the data with key rotation and how many bits you're using, all that is for the bin if someone can just impersonate you and log in. Because then obviously all the authority is given, all the keys are pulled based on your login account. So if your access is not properly protected, more than 80% of other security factors, I would even say it's more than 90, are obsolete because the sheer impersonation of that authorized user helps to bypass, well, not even bypass, it's actually using it. It's just using it as a normal user, as you would use it. Because if it allows you to use it, someone else being you at that moment will have the same rights to do it. Uh, Another thing to consider, that's why it landed up here in the opinion corner, is tokens may be a cost factor and create logistical efforts. Yes, there are companies, let's say, normally you're not building your own tokens. I mean, if you have a high secure zone, then you maybe do that, but because it's part of your business. But let's say a normal business owner would probably go to a company that sells these tokens and again pick a good one, not someone that gets compromised. So because even the physical token itself is not worth anything if the logic has been compromised and everyone could replicate what is the actual numbers that these tokens are generating, the transaction numbers. But ideally, yeah, if you have a global footprint with your company, choose a token company that is present in most of the markets, because then you can order these things from there, because some countries have restrictions of encryption items or encryption hardware, which is this considered to be. And again, if you need more, if something gets lost, you can always block it. You can even block it on the supplier level and say this token has been compromised because it has been stolen. Then worldwide, this provider can actually block or blacklist this token, and it can never be used anymore. Even though it would look like it works, but it's just no use anymore. And for you can retrieve new tokens, and then you just have to re-register them, assign the user to it, and make sure that it's now used in the right way. And if there's any improvement in technology, I'm just saying, like, maybe somehow the connection mechanism, like from USB changing to something else, you wanna be ready for that, because not that a token company then says, oh sorry, we're not doing USB-C, and then your laptops don't have the normal USB anymore, for example. All that can happen. Logistical efforts to get the token to the actual person, which is maybe in that particular country, and you want to ship it there, and you wanna have an authorized shipping, so you cannot personally bring it there. All these things adding up on the physical items, and physical items can be lost very quickly. Yeah? So there's a pitfall. On the one side, good. On the other side, brings a lot of problems with it. But you have to assess your risk situation. Mobile push notifications is another thing, because then the mobile phone is itself acting as a token. Usually people take care of this more.